I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.
Hello everybody, Dave here for the next instalment of Dave Gets Shaftheadgrip, where we're playing about with some golf clubs. So this one is the next one in the selection. It's the pitch wedge, just to show its current condition. So that's what it's looking like. Yeah, so looking a bit messy. So we're going to do give it this, basically try and give it the same treatment as previously. Excuse me. And I am going to fast forward through a lot of it again. Otherwise you'll be really bored. I just want to get it masking taped up before I start. So with this one, as I'm pretty sure I mentioned on the previous video, excuse-moi, I'm going to give it a clean first. Excuse me. I'm going to give the face a clean before I start gouging at it, or start sanding it, and all that jazz. So yeah, so mainly so that on the face we can get a much better view of how it's going. Something I was going to mention as well, I have had a look at keep choking. I have had a look at the furniture stripper that I was using, the Nitro Moors. I was looking at whether that could be used on metal, and it can. So that could be used to remove the paint on these heads. It actually just made me wonder whether perhaps something like that, if I was to fill a tub with it and then just immerse the head in the tub for a while, excuse me, and let it just peel off all of the paint, because obviously on these clubs they do have a black finish on them, they have black paint on them. So it might be a way of completely stripping the paint off. It wouldn't work on all clubs. For example, the one I was practicing on, obviously that didn't have paint on it, that just had lots of marks on the metal itself, so it wouldn't work on those. But on these kinds it might. I might have to see if I've got another sort of scrap club that's of a similar style and try that, because it potentially could be a much faster way of stripping these down, and potentially a less abrasive way. So instead of sanding all of the crap off it, we'll just use the chemical to peel all of the crap off. But we'll see. What would happen though if I did it with these clubs on the back, where the bit that I want to keep, unfortunately, well, we'd lose that. Like I said, I'm not sure I'd try using it on these clubs, not unless I tested it on a few others. Okay, so the only reason I'm sort of showing the club at the moment is because I want to masking tape it off before I get too close, so too invested. That's got a bit of angle, and I knew I should have done this before I put my gloves on, so that I could have a much better feel. Right. make sure I'm not wasting or leaving areas of the metal covered that wouldn't then get stripped. Okay, right. Okay, so I'm going to crack on with this one then, which means that I'm going to put some safety gear on, and we're going to be popping on the fast forward. We'll see how it goes with this one. We could end up doing one club per video, depends on how long they're going to take. Alright, let's crack on. everybody, Dave here for an update, and I've just seen a lot of crap on my face. Right, the pitching wedge. It's just done as much as I'm going to do it. Now, it didn't take as long as the previous club. I think I was better educated in what I was doing, to be honest, and I was working better techniques for doing it. So one of the big differences of this being metal compared to when I've been working with woods is there is no grain in metal, or at least no grain that I need to work with. So it doesn't matter which direction I sand or anything like that. But what I did find was much more practical was sanding in circles towards the end of what I was doing. I did find me using the technique where I was sort of rubbing the sandpaper like that and using it going over, very useful. So yeah, very pleased with how this one has ended up looking, really. So as I said, didn't take as long, but also one of the things that I did right at the end was, you'll have seen that I used the Dremel to polish it up, or not polish it up, but just to clean it up. But then I went with the fine sanding pad and sanded the whole lot, but then only cleaned up the face with the Dremel. Basically because I wanted to see what kind of a look it would give on the rest of the metal. And it's a clean look, but it is a slightly dull one compared to the face, where we're doing that extra bit of clean on it with a Dremel. Is much shinier. Now I could go and do the rest of it right now, but I'm actually going to leave it just to see if later on I happen to sort of notice differences. Now, one thing I did struggle on this club a bit more was at the join. I think I may have sort of gone over the plastic a bit, so I may have made that look a bit shitter, but I'm not too worried about that for now, because it is mainly the head I'm focusing on, and I'll deal with that when we're dealing with the shaft, hopefully. Okay, so a couple of things to note. Even though I sat here and said exactly what I was going to do with this club, I immediately did it wrong. Because I said I was going to clean it first and I completely forgot, I just went for it. But I did clean the face of the club before I went too aggressive on sanding it, and before I went for a regrooving. Now, what you may have seen while on the video while I was cleaning it was, once I'd actually used this brush to clean out the grooves, you could see the paint was in good condition and it looked quite nice, but the grooves were basically, there wasn't much of an indentation to quite a few of the grooves in this area, the area where people would often hit the ball. So obviously the metal had worn down a bit flatter and the paint was a little bit too deep. So I very nearly thought, you know what, that looks nice, I'll leave it. But that's when I checked the groove depth, and down in this bit was fine, but up in this bit, not so much. So it needed to be regrooved. So I've given it a bit of a digging out. But one of the things that I'm kind of thinking of with these is that, yes, I'm regrooving it now a little bit, but I'm not going to go fully re-grooving it until I've taken the paint out. Because obviously if I'm at a point where the paint is at a depth that's having an effect, then I might as well get the paint out and then see what I'm working with. Okay, on here, let's see, you might be able to see just here a couple of places where I ended up sort of sanding over it a little bit. But a bit like the previous club, if we compare it to the next one, so compare the backs, looks very tight. I do like that look. Looks tidy. Much shinier. How are the backs? Much nicer on this one. And then on the faces as well. So yeah, spent a lot of time on the face. Well, actually, I say spent a lot of time on the face. I didn't spend that much time on the face. It didn't take that long to do. The bit that took the longest, but I'm the most proud of, was again this leading edge. There were notches in this one and up the side, but you know what? You can't even see. Well, you may see a couple of little black marks. See if I can get it to focus. But there's nothing in that. But basically, there is no sign of where those gouges were, and again, it's got a nice clean edge. On the back, on the bottom, I should say, okay, so around here was lots and lots, there's too much reflection on it. There was lots and lots of damage on this area, but I was able to sand that away quite nicely. I've left it so there's a couple of tiny little marks, and one reason for that is I know I could take it all the way, but as soon as this gets used, it's going to get marked up again. So I kind of wanted to leave a little bit of on the line. I didn't necessarily want to go for perfection, not with these, but I'm very happy with how that groove, the gouges were coming out. So I'm very pleased with that. Also, you'll notice that on this one I didn't try polishing the club head. I'm not going to do that until I've completely finished working on the club heads, I think. Okay, so let's take a quick look at this club. This will be the next one to do, which is the 9 iron. And interestingly, the darker the paint on it does seem to be covering up quite a bit of the damage that is done to them. Quite a few of the so like in the heel area, there's usually been quite a bit of damage on those that is sort of hidden by the paint, and also, okay, so on this, basically anywhere where the paint is sort of missing a bit or is scratched a bit is basically where damage is. So when I look at this under the 9, there is a lot of areas of damage, but I now know that I can deal with that. I can get that looking nice. If we look at the club face on this one, obviously I need to clean it out, but again, this is reason for doing these, that it just looks messy, it looks nasty. So I might as well take all the paint off. And yeah, but this one doesn't seem to have as much damage around the edge. And as I say that, okay, just down here, just there, you can see there's one notch there, but I can get rid of that, no problem. I'm now much more confident with dealing with those. So yeah, so very happy. Now, interestingly, looking at this one, when it comes to looking at the grooves look like there may be enough life in them. Because at the end of the day, there's no point re-grooving it if I don't need to, but we'll see. It depends what dirt comes out of there and and obviously once we've sanded it down a bit as well, it may sort of level it out a bit more. So at the end of the day, we need the grooves on there. But once again, very happy with how this club has ended up looking, but also with how the metal has ended up looking. Gives me a bit of confidence when we sort of go on to doing the shafts. So yeah, I'm now messy and dirty, I'm hungry, so I think I'm going to need to go and have a shower, given that I've got what appear to be metal and paint all over my face, even though I was wearing safety glasses. But yeah, so we're going to need to clean up and sort everything out. But a very successful session, that one. I think I've probably actually talked more than on the previous video, so if the videos are long, I do apologise. What I will say is that if you've got some knackered old clubs that you want doing up, feel free to get in touch. I might charge you a fortune, but you never know, you might have a favourite club that you're just fed up with it looking nasty. I really am happy with how nice this one's come up, and it's not even. I mean, I could just keep going with it. I could keep sanding it, keep polishing it, and make it look brand fucking new. Now, I could go that far with these, but these I know are going to get used. So, yeah, there's another set. The set that's in there that I mentioned, that if they don't sell for the price they're going on, then they'll be the ones that I'll look at taking a bit further. Partly also because as well, they don't have the plastic bit here. It's a different style of club. So I can get much more aggressive all the way to the edge on them. But anyway, that'll be for something later on. Right, have a good one everybody. Take it easy. Don't get too stressed with the world. And yeah, try and enjoy yourselves. Have a good one, and we'll see you on the next one.